Hey everyone, and welcome to another recording of Our Human Experience, the podcast where we probe individuals to share the stories that made them who they are today.
And try to find the connection that is our human experience. And we are recording today in beautiful Govinda at the Arts Nexus podcast studio. I'm Claire Tierney.
And I'm Anna Winter.
Where can they follow us, Anna?
They can follow us on social media at Our Human Experience on Instagram and Facebook.
ourhumanexperience.com.au. We invite you
To pod binge
Our Human Experience
anytime you like.
So, hello, Claire.
Hi, Melissa.
This is Claire Tierney for those out there that are
Hey.
meeting her for the first time.
And this is Melissa Robertson. Anyone who's meeting her for the first time.
Hello. So, I've had the great pleasure of getting to know you a little bit more. Isn't it interesting you can know someone for so long and then still not actually know them?
Yeah, it's crazy. Melissa.
Know
Know them.
I said-
Well, we don't want to get biblical, but
Mm.
Melissa and I worked together off and on different projects
Yes.
over the years. And I'm going to speak to Melissa like she's the fairy godmother. She has taught me a ton.
Mm.
And I'm so proud and honoured that she's joined us on this podcast. So then now I'm even especially excited. She's going to ask the questions that I might not want to answer.
No, and so I think that's my job now, is to try to peel back some layers and let you out there know who Claire is and why would you bother going on a journey with Claire and her friend Anna, who we'll get to speak to in a moment. So Claire, my first impression was you running from one end of a building to another, running, I believe it was a fashion parade. It was in Port Douglas at the Sugar Wharf.
Yeah.
I very quickly found out that you had been Miss Events of Port Douglas. I should say that with more emphasis. Event. So you were, and I'm an event manager, so we came from the same planet, really, and I understood the 20 pots boiling.
And the size of the venue. I mean, just for one event, the size of the venue being such a long building, running was definitely part of, in heels.
Yeah. I have a rider now on any event that I manage,
girl.
Segways.
Good girl.
Segways. I'm never doing another event again. Can't drive a Segway. So then we got to know each other through, I think, the Buskers Festival, our mutual friend Melinda, knowing you were from Melbourne and had somehow found your way to Far North Queensland. I think that's something we'll unpack as well, that journey of how we end up here and why, when we're from somewhere as culturally dynamic as Melbourne.
Yeah.
And the family we leave behind.
Yeah.
So I will start with the same question you ask everyone. I'd like a flyover because we want to pass by pretty quick. Who you are in your structural world, like how many children, type of family, type of upbringing.
Yeah, now that part of my story I could talk forever because I have a large family. But I am one of 6. I'm the youngest of 6. And as far as family closeness and love and generosity, my family are amazing. I did leave them all behind in Melbourne, but I didn't come straight here. So my journey of leaving Melbourne and coming here had taken 3 years via South America and London and Spain. So when the story kind of took its turn and how I came back to Australia was I ended up finding out I was pregnant, a part of my journey that had not been planned.
Sorry, how old were you?
But I was 38. So yeah, I kind of...
Can you believe that child is 16?
He's 16 now.
And you look like you're just about to be 38, by the way.
Thank you, darling. You're very sweet.
But
so on that journey, I had a lot of decisions to make. My mother had we've just realised that she probably had Alzheimer's and she was going through that process of being diagnosed.
Yeah.
And then I was working at a fairly unique little family farm converted to homestay for the elite in England. So they came and they didn't want paparazzi. So it was really grassroots. All the workers spoke Spanish, and I think they were aristocratic connections, the family that we worked for. So it was a great time, and my partner and I were speaking Spanish. We'd been in South America for years. So it was a great little part of the adventure. And as I said before, being pregnant wasn't on the plan. So as much as it's a joy and I embraced it and I'm totally, totally happily being a mother, I had to come home to sort of regroup and deal with my mum and tell her the story. And then out of the blue, my oldest friend in the world, the family I grew up across the road from, he passed away. So it was just these dominoes started falling and I thought, nah, it's time for me to go home. Yeah. And to be honest, Melissa, I was coming home to pretty much do a 360 and get the hell out, and I'm still here.
Here you are. Okay, so that interesting. Youngest, that would have given you a very interesting childhood, I suspect. A lot of attention,
a lot of attention,
a lot of learning very quickly from others.
Oh yeah, look, my upbringing was fairly strict in the sense of Catholic guidelines and
Catholic school,
Catholic primary, nuns, second row of the church every Sunday, pillar of the community, as it were. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful family, beautiful family friends. No reality when I went to university and I sat around the table at the small cafe, and I'm pretty sure that there was a joint being passed around, and I looked around the table and I thought, oh my God, I think this is the first time in my life I'm sitting at a table where no one is Catholic. And I just went, eye-opener. So, university kind of opened those doors.
That's another milestone, isn't it?
That's another milestone.
Okay, we're going to, all right, I want to, just before we go into grown-up world, trauma. That sounded like a lovely childhood, perfect, pristine postcard picture, second row church.
Yeah, we were.
What would have been before university the biggest thing you had to deal with?
Look, I'd have to say a couple of things happened. Two of my cousins from the same family who were my age, so they were then 13 and 12 or whatever, died within a year of each other.
Okay.
From asthma.
Oh,
that
doesn't sound like
how bizarre. Like growing up, nobody thought you died of asthma. And both girls, they're both eldest girls from the same family, and they were my age. Yeah. So that was a full, like, the world is real moment. And I guess that's probably, to be honest, one of the biggest overwhelming things that happened in my life. Yep. The other thing that wasn't life-changing but was a reality check, when I went to high school, my very first day in my maths class, and the man at the head of the maths class, Mr. Legerio is probably resting in peace now, but he read out the roll and he said, just put your hand up when I get to your name. And he went, I'm a Tierney. So I'm like, right at the end of the roll. And he went through the roll, he got to my name and he went, Tierney? Yeah, I know who you are. And just went on. And I went, oh my God, I've been marked. Because I'm the youngest of 5 girls who went to the same school, and my mother went to the same school. So my reputation was laid out for me. Yeah. So then I had this reality check that I wasn't unseen on this planet. Yep. And there were opinions of what I should achieve.
A bit hard to break the mold of being your own person. Yeah. So then, okay, you find yourself in grown-up world and travel. Tell me first, just quickly, the subjects you did at uni.
At uni, I did a Bachelor of Science and I majored in genetics and immunology. And then I went back and did postgraduate studies in community health and health
Wow.
promotion.
Wow.
And then I did a unit of that part after that in sexual health counselling. So the health and community health and all of that was where my interest in science, rather than looking down a microscope, it turned to that kind of personhood. And all of that with, as you said, travel dotted in between it.
What would be your first, I'm going to say real job, because we take a lot of jobs that just pay the bills,
I don't
right?
think I've had one.
You don't think you've had a real job? No, that's very telling.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's the job we dream of, or we put an application together that's like really determined, this is the job for me. You don't feel like you've ever had?
Look, I've had some incredible jobs, absolutely amazing jobs. I have been fortunate enough to work for myself most of my life, and being an entrepreneur, set up small businesses and things like that. I haven't ever had that burning urge for a career as it's laid out for you. You go down this path, and then the next thing leads to that, and then you get promoted and it leads to that, and da, da, da. I haven't really done that. What I've really put in front is experiences.
Yep.
So if that job was going to get me an experience, I did that. And that's where I kind of met you late in my working sort of career. I don't like that word, but in my working world. And I'd already, one thing leads to another.
Yeah.
And I kind of found myself on a different path than what I studied.
Which is the path of a creative. Often it's not even about the fact that you might be an artist or a producer of art or whatever. It's just the approach to life.
Yeah.
And that's why they, creative industries became a term, because it's a bit like science. Well, you get something and then you've got to kind of prove it. And so you go to
build on it.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas a tradie might go hammer 3 nails and put it straight, and then that's up.
There's a creativeness within that as well if you build your own house and design those things. So I actually feel like there's creativeness, or the potential for creativeness, if that's a word, in everything.
Everything. Yeah, no question. So I just, again, I'm going to tie some strings together in a moment, but in terms of that, so then you go off into travel land and meet your travel partner, or did you travel off together just as a...
When I first left Australia at 21 or nearly 22, I went on a one-way ticket through Russia and ended up in London for a few years. And I was not partnered at that time. My long-term partner, father of my child, has been someone I've known for ever since I was that age, but we weren't together then. So we'd known each other. He lived in one of the rooms of my house. We'd worked together. We'd done all of that. And then when I came back from traveling around years later, we kind of met up then. So, yeah.
Okay, so...
And then, sorry to interrupt, then we did do our South America, Spain travel together.
And you were partnered then?
We were partnered then.
Yeah. And so I think that it's an interesting time, our 20s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't see, like they say, the child, show me the child and I'll show you them grown up, that there's a lot that gets formed in those first sort of 7 years.
Yeah.
Then our next sort of teenage life backs that up, the experiences we choose to have. And then the 20s go crazy. You're someone I would like to think has never grown up. I feel like you're like always up for
Ladies
the adventure.
and gentlemen, I think that was a compliment.
That was a compliment. I envy that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I feel very honoured that one of your last jobs, technically as a formal job, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you'll always be, but and I got to be that person for you and get to know you in your working, and I was really grateful for that experience too at that time. So my impression of you is someone who is able to take whatever's in your stride.
necessary.
So your 20s travel, that would have been full of that.
That was absolutely wild. That's a whole nother podcast.
Well, I'm going to ask you, in that travel time, I'm going to
Yeah.
hone it down to that. What was the scariest moment?
Oh,
Life-threatening maybe, or just, oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
well, it's not so much scare. I'm not one to scare easily, and I don't panic about things unless they're in my face.
Mhm.
So I didn't really have any, I wasn't held up with a knife or any of those kind of things. But I did travel through, I said before, I went through Russia on a one-way, not on my way to England. And when I got off the plane on New Year's Day, I came through Thailand and I went into Moscow.
Yeah.
And I got off the plane and everybody went to transit and I went to check my bag. And I got to the bag carousel and there was not a soul.
By yourself.
Nothing was open. There was no exchange. It was New Year's Day. The bags weren't there. There was no. I remember thinking
Russian.
I didn't speak any Russian. I think spasibo.
What made you think to go to Russia, by the way?
Oh, because that's what I do. Nobody had done it. No one was doing it.
Yeah, so that's what made
I
you
don't
do
know.
it.
My travel agent made a random suggestion, and I said, "Yeah, let's do that."
Russia. Here we go.
Sure.
Okay, so
but it turned into the most incredible time.
Of course,
it was amazing.
Wow. Yeah, Russia's a bit of an unusual travel.
It was
story,
then. It was Gorbachev, so it was back in.
And I'm sure you're going to hear about Claire's travels throughout the podcast. So I mean, obviously, I really encourage you to learn a little bit more about Claire through those podcasts and Claire to share. But okay, I want to tie together. Fascinating. I had no idea. Immunology in this day and age, health, community health. And I'm going to jump straight to it, but Claire, you are now surrounded by community health workers and health, immunology.
There's a time in your life where irony just smacks you in the pants.
I had no idea.
And I studied immunology. Now I have an autoimmune disease. I studied genetics. I have an autoimmune disease with a genetic propensity to have that illness. So I've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which I found out when I was 28, and I was still running around the world doing events and all the rest of it. And when I came to work for you, I think it was probably the start of my symptoms showing to the rest of the world, because for probably 15 years or so I managed it and it never really inhibited anything I did. And then I came and worked with you and I started walking on the cane.
That's right. Yeah. And there was a few little moments of compromise. We had to make times or tired or whatever. And luckily in our work we had that flexibility. Okay, so multiple sclerosis, there's a fairly not well understood, but the trajectory is one particular way. But you have, this is a really impressive thing. So now I've put it together with your study. Who would have thought in your 20s that you would actually need this? But so you have made a pilgrimage every year to Bali.
A lot of years.
On a pursuit of alternative healing.
Yeah, look, Melissa, the thing with being diagnosed with an illness where there is no known cure, and then they say it's progressive. So there's the medical industry will say there is nothing we can do to tell you that you go and do this and you've got a good chance that it will disappear. They don't have that belief. And I don't have the belief that it is what they don't understand it to be.
Yep.
Does that make sense? I mean, for me, if they can't tell me how it happens, really, I mean, there's many theories. I get that. And when the protocol for help, and they are brilliant, the hospitals, the medical profession do a damn good job at what they do for trauma and surgery and things like that. But if they can't tell me that this particular drug is going to cure, not even cure, but give me a sporting chance, what they basically said is you take this and it could slow down. Now, it could slow down and it probably could also cause cancer.
Ugh.
So when somebody says to you,
Yeah.
here's a drug,
Yeah.
you're going to be immunosuppressed.
Yeah.
You're going to catch everything else because you're going to be suppressed.
But
But it will slow it down.
yeah.
Possibly.
And for how long?
And for how long? But
yeah.
ultimately you'll probably end up in a wheelchair and not be able to feed yourself.
Yeah. So as somebody who's experienced a lot of adventure and travel, and I think it's really hard for people that have not thrown caution to the wind and just got on that road to really understand the hard work involved in travel, the day-to-day life.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting, and it's not a holiday.
No.
I mean, it's adventurous.
It's
but
adventure.
It's not a holiday. I think what I've observed, the approach you've had to your MS is adventurous, in a strange, safe kind of way. But your day to day must be quite a
look. My
adventure,
day to day, again another 360 in my life because I could probably write down on that piece of paper for you, Melissa, 40 things that I liked to do, which included mountain climbing and skiing and jumping out of aeroplanes and deep sea diving and, going for really long walks and all these things that suddenly just slowly become the you can't do thing. And I'm not saying I can't do them because I'm lazy or I'm not trying. You get to a physical point where your leg won't move forward, and I exercise and I have a personal trainer and I do all of those things every day, and you still go backwards.
Yeah. So now on your list, the biggest thing is to get out of the car without falling out.
Get out of the car without falling over.
Oh my gosh. So I wonder about the humility in what do you call it? Diseasement? What do you call the condition?
I call it a challenge.
A challenge, yeah. And I think that's again goes back into your adventurous nature, isn't it?
Challenge.
And you've done incredible, really, in the years that I've known you to watch you. And now I understand because you've got that science approach to, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to know what I'm doing.
Give it a good go is basically. And I think that's part of, you grow up in a big family and, all of your holidays, everybody had to chip in, everyone had to do. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have dishwashers. We didn't have television for most of my life and no computers, internet, all of it. And I know the world of everything was different, but you did have to chip in to make your own fun. You had to chip in to get the family fed, and just weed the garden was everyone had their chore.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you made a game out of it. And I guess that's part of those early years that are the formative aspect of who you are.
Yep.
The other thing too is my mother was incredibly progressive when it came to healing, or because she just looked at every option.
Yes.
And so my first memory of being really quite unwell in childhood was, or in teenage years really, glandular fever. And that was another one was, what do you do with it? Well, she took me off to the naturopath and I came home with supplements and a diet and all sorts of things like that, which, that's a way of dealing with health that now we understand. Yeah. So when I was first diagnosed, I kid you not, I went in and I had my MRIs and I had my eyes checked for ocular neuritis, which is how they first really saw what was going on with me. And I was a brown belt in karate. I was going towards my black belt. I was super fit. I was, blah, 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 blah. And then I went for my physical checkup and the guy said to me, wow, Claire, you're really flexible. You're doing really well. And he kind of said, may not have been his words, but he kind of said, go home, look after yourself, come back when something happens. They had no idea that diet was important, and they
Yes.
still struggle with that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
They had no idea that vitamin D or zinc or any of those things were really important. No one knew anything about gut microbiome. Nobody knew that swimming could, that you needed to stay. So it's all this stuff that I've grown through as
Yes.
the industry has grown as well, has given me, and I guess for those that are coming up behind me, a way different prognosis.
Yeah. And more in control, really,
Yeah.
like not handing over the entire
Yeah.
procedure and
Yeah.
trajectory to someone
Yeah.
else to determine.
Yeah.
So I think we're amazing, and I think that's added a whole another level to these podcasts around your knowledge you're bringing forward and your choice of who you're speaking to and the content. So I'm going to just cut forward.
Okay.
Cut back. Sorry.
Cut back.
Cut back forward. Film term, which of course you've had a bit to
Yeah.
do, filmmaking
Yeah.
and other things. So again, that lends itself to this medium. I first watched you doing some live Facebook streams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the start for me when I went, oh, Claire, this is something you could be doing is
Yeah.
online. And certainly as your mobility changes and your stay-at-homeness, and bang, we found ourselves, the entire world going, oh, maybe I can create at home. I mean, that was
the online medium. And if there is
exploded.
anything positive to come out of the latest virus, world viral
Thing.
behavior, is that people have turned their life online and they understand that it is a medium for proper communication.
Yes.
It's not just something you'll do if you can't do something else. So if you can't get on a plane to do that business meeting in London, I'll give him a call.
Yes.
That is now used to be the whole, oh no, you don't get stuff done that way.
No, we need face to face.
We need face to face.
Relationships,
But now it's this whole world has opened up, and it's brilliant because so many things can go online. Teach yoga.
Yeah.
I could list them all. There's a ton of them.
Well, it's also a little bit about finding your tribe.
Yes.
And they don't, just because of geography or the fact that you went to the same school with your sisters, that doesn't mean that that's actually your tribe.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, and it sounds to me, for all the love and gorgeousness you would have found in your upbringing, doesn't necessarily mean that you were fulfilled personally in terms of interests and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
look.
And that's where I want to go to the travel.
Yeah.
Because of the adventure, but you were gone for quite some years.
I was gone and then I came back and then I went and I came back and that sort of thing. And in the interim, I did some funky little businesses that allowed me to realize that creativity was much more on my radar than looking down a microscope. Because when I did study, I was fortunate enough to have a really great lecturer who was doing a little project, and he was trying to discover a cure for chlamydia in koalas.
I've heard that's a problem.
It is a problem.
Apparently, yeah.
It is a problem. Randy little things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they only live on one tree, I found out.
Well,
so that must make it very hard.
They don't want to get out of that tree too. So I can tell you, we used to have to go to Hill Sanctuary, an area that you understand.
Yes, I do.
Knock that koala out of the tree in a bag while he's hanging on. Grab him, shave a little bit of his arm, take some blood samples, and hope I actually do have a few scars here, but and then go back and look down the microscope. And the part that I loved was out
with the
koala and the adventure of knocking the koala out of the tree. The part that I found my brain wasn't really, one pipette, 2 pipettes. And did I do that pipette? I don't know. Should I start again? It really wasn't me. I'm not methodical enough in that world.
I've heard that story a lot around science, that the actual pursuit of knowledge is different than the actual doing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the interesting thing is you've come across somebody who, and we'll meet Anna. So please find Anna's podcast too, because she's got a delightful story too. While she's not here.
Oh, Shh.
I will ask her the same
Go on.
question. So we gather people in our life.
Yes.
And then every now and again, someone sticks a bit closer. And for some reason, you then start doing some things together. Tell me a little bit about. So first of all, you start with live streaming by yourself at home without technology properly, no lighting.
No,
When I think
it's
about,
terrible,
oh my
really.
gosh, the side. And you can never get rid of those.
You can never get rid of them.
Those Facebook things. It's there if you go looking. But you had some things to say.
Yeah, look, I've always had something to say. That's one thing you can tell about me. And it was off the back of COVID and people in fear. And I've done a lot of public speaking, and I did some stuff at Tanks for a night that they call Pechakucha. That's a world night. I did some topics of choice and fear and things like that. So I just felt like it was good for me, but it was also important that I said it because you never know who's listening or watching.
Yeah.
And I must say, a girlfriend of mine recently, who I've, randomly in contact with, rang me and said that she'd found my little live. She told me which one it was and how it had helped her and all this stuff that it had done. So you never, go. It's really good to put things out there because and that's the motivation behind our human experience is other people's stories are incredibly inspiring to those that need help at the time. So, but you asked me about Anna.
So you knew Anna from many years ago?
No. That's another part of the story.
Oh, I so thought you guys were lifelong
this is a fabulous
friends.
part of the story. I met a beautiful friend when I was working in the Indigenous Gallery in Port Douglas. And through her, I met Anna when she came up to visit one time. Anna is a person who has 1,000 ideas and often will say, oh, you could do this or you could do that. And she's very inspiring. So at one point she needed a PA and, again, something that I could do online. I didn't have to be – she didn't live up here at that point. So she went back to her town, Moree, and I stayed up here and we worked together.
Yeah.
She ran a health retreat, a fitness down there, and I helped her out with that. So then she kept saying, I'm coming back, I'm coming to visit, I'm coming back, I'm coming to visit. And it had been a year or more, and then she rang me a few weeks before Christmas. This is probably 4 years ago, or nearly 4 years ago this Christmas.
Yep.
Rang me and said, I'm coming. And I said to her, well, when are you coming? She told me the date, and I said to her, well, that's really interesting because I'll be going to Melbourne the day before you arrive, and I'll be gone for 3 months, and there's a house and you can have it. So there's the keys and you can come and live in my house and I won't be there.
Which strangely I got to meet her picking something else.
You did.
And that was really the first sort of proper...
the first time. So when I came back after my 3 months in Melbourne, she was in the house, and then we became flatmates until she moved out within about 8 months or something.
Yeah, right. Wow. And so the connection is Melbourne and pursuit of lifestyle choices.
Anna has an incredible story to do with weight loss, and you'll learn more about that in her special. And while I'm talking, I'm thinking I'll probably have a special too about autoimmune and what you can do with all of that. So we just talked a lot about all sorts of ideas and things like that. And Anna's probably did the kind of kicking along of the motivation. I was looking for a way to get my life online because of the physical issues I was having or am having, and just the motivation of knowing that I can be productive again. Because so, Melissa, it's the part that's hard with any illness that kind of is progressive is the loss of who you are.
Yeah.
So, and being such a front line in the public eye with everything that I did with event management, even dog walking, running cafes, all of those things that I've done over the years. My face was out there, and it was physical.
Yep.
And I was fit.
Yep.
And then it slowly disappears. So you lose yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. So depression is not far behind that.
Yes.
So in the slump and the thinking, oh, I'm not the kind of person that wants to sit on the couch.
Yeah.
How can I manage this? What can I do to keep myself out there? What can I do to keep my brain moving?
Yeah.
And how can I do something with the skills that I've got?
Yes. And I think that's probably the biggest inspiration is to watching you just shift your world around you a bit, and a little tweak here, a little tweak there, still co-parenting with your son and his father, and being dedicated to that, and now relocation back to Melbourne. Amazing, Claire, really, to find a way of, I think what you teach me is that you don't have to find a way in the world to fit, but you can make the world fit you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is hard to manipulate what's in front of you all the time. And there are so many cofactors, as you say, co-parenting, unwellness, finances, all those facts, and the distance between you and your family, you and your friends. And when I was actively traveling around the world, when I arrived up here, none of that was prevalent. None of that was a daily issue for me. And I can wake up in the morning and before I get up think, oh my God, it's all perfect again. And then slowly through the day you might get tired and something shut in. So it's a roller coaster. And so it's finding those little glimpses of joy.
Well, I think credit to you that in the Arts Nexus studios, we don't talk about pivoting because that sounds just painful. People talk about pivoting a lot. So we pirouette here. And I think that I would love to watch you continue pirouetting.
My way through life?
Yes.
I'm happy to pirouette
I see you as a ballerina randomly, of all things.
Of course.
So thank you, Claire. Is there any final something, or will we learn more as
you will learn more. And what I would say about the podcasting, the process that we're doing, my story is just one of the many stories that people will hear. What I've found from the interviews we've done so far, and I know maybe I shouldn't say that because this will probably be the first interview you will hear, but
sneak preview.
In the process, there is a connection in everyone's story. Everyone that has come to this table has something, and you think, oh, you know, that was something that happened to me, or my sister, or that's really relevant to what's going on with me. And so for people, for viewers especially, to never think that they're sitting alone with a problem in their lap that's too big to handle. Stories are really important. Tell your story. Tell your story. It's really important.
It's actually a human right under the UNESCO Sustainable Goals.
Look at you going back to politics.
Sorry, can't help it. But I think that's been the thing about podcasting is why would I tell my story? Who cares? What's it say about me to do it? And it is the connecting with other humans, and
it's vital.
It's vital. Strangely, with all the millions and millions of
no, it's really vital. And I think the more we are on devices and the more we are locked down or disconnected or working from home and not working in a workspace with other people, connection's vital. And these stories just show how vital, and the connections of the people that are telling their stories, what they meant to them in their journey as well. So talk, share. It's really important.
Oh, I've loved getting to know the people that you brought forward, and now to get to know you. Thanks, you, Claire.
Lisa. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Our Human Experience. You can follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook.
ourhumanexperience.com.au.
Listen to Our Human Experience, where you can pod binge anytime you like. See you next time.
Bye.
If you have found this episode to cause you some distress, please reach out to a friend or call Lifeline anytime on 131114. 131114. Take care.